Welcome back to the channel. My name is Tronage, and today we're going to be talking about Drone Drop for November 2019. I really hope they're able to recover from last month's epic failure. Want to see what's inside? Stick around. Let me bring you up to speed. If you missed out in October of 2019, this company here, Drone Drop, put out a box. And it was what, in my opinion, was pretty terrible. Pretty much an epic fail as far as value and content goes, as far as I'm concerned. If you missed out on that and you want to check it out and you want to see what a bad box looks like, you can check that link up in the corner and get yourself caught up. Now here we are with the November box in my hands, and I'm curious to see if they're going to be able to recover, because they are falling way behind Quad Box and FPV Crate as far as the runnings go. Now, one thing I noticed is very different on this box than previous boxes, and that is it came shipped from overseas. I got an email notification from, Team Black Sheep from their website that I had a package that was shipped. I'm like, I didn't order anything from Team Black Sheep, but it came from their website with their tracking information, and you clicked the link and it was coming from Hong Kong overseas, and it took, quite a little while to get here. But it finally has arrived. So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna bring you all up in close. We're gonna do a little bit of an unboxing, look at what's initially in here, and then I'll give you my thoughts, and we'll do a little bit of a cost analysis to see really what kind of value is in this box. Is it really good? Is it really bad? And we'll figure that out together. But before we do any of that, slam that subscribe button. While you're at it, hit that bell icon. It makes finding my videos a whole heck of a lot easier. It doesn't cost you anything, completely free to do, but it does help support this channel greatly, and I'm very appreciative when you do that. While you're at it, also hit that like icon if you like what you see, hit that dislike icon if you don't like what you see, but make sure you comment down below why you didn't like it so I can help improve and make better videos in the future. All right, with that out of the way, why don't you come all in close and let's get digging. Boom. Premium parts right here. Bring it. Let's do this. And we do a flipperoo. And as mentioned, I stand corrected. The manufacturer location is Hong Kong, but this did come from Singapore. Singapore is where it is located. Also noticing that instead of having the packing label being the sealing thing that you usually do, they're back to these round, clear sticker things, which are never as good to cut as those oh so buttery vinyl ones. But we cut it anyway. Little pre-open on that flap, flip it back around, we get ready, and then we open. So, starting off, we have yet another Quad Questions battery strap. This would be number 3 that we've gotten in a row. I hope that's not a sign of what is to come. We'll talk about that later. Now we got 3 sets of props here. Looks like we're doing pretty good. We have the Ajani Freestyle props. They are Azure Power brand, and they are 4838 threes. So a little bit of kind of like an ultra lightweight design, kind of nifty, kind of different. Let's take a quick peek at those. You can see they're kind of very lightweight and wispy looking, and so very lightweight, low pitch. Interesting, very interesting. We'll set those to the side. Next up, let's go with this guy. This is what is known as a solder sulker. Not a sulker, a solder sucker, or as I like to call them, a solder pult. You use this when you're desoldering something. So the way this works, you push your little thingy down, you get your little tip into your blob of solder, you get your soldering iron in there, you get it all heated up so it becomes liquidy, and then you hit the button, and it sucks it all up inside. The reason why I call it a solder pulse is because there's cheaper ones that when you hit this button, this plunger will actually shoot completely out and fire across the room. It's also kind of cool if you have like a little spitball you put there and you can like shoot it across your coworker's desk or something along those lines. To clean this out, they usually have, this unscrews, and you can take out the innards because eventually the inside will get kind of gunked up with solder. But I usually do one of these little actions like that to kind of clear the tube between uses. It's a pretty damn useful tool, especially when we're soldering up boards and stuff or swapping out or doing repairs, so that's actually a cool thing. Moving on, we have an Omnibus F4 processor, flight controller, V5, V5.1 to be more specific. So that's pretty cool. We got basically just a decent flight controller. Can't complain about that. Next up, we have the Ethics lanyard. We have received this also in a previous box. It's the transmitter lanyard to attach to your transmitter, obviously, of the Ethics brand. And then we have the wonderful sticker sheet that has all the Team Black Sheep stuff going on. So, to recap, we have the sticker sheet, we have a transmitter strap, we have a flight controller, we have a solder sucker and its bag, we have 3 sets of props, and we have the Quad Questions battery strap. Let's run some numbers and see what we got in this box. So before we get into that cost analysis, you may notice that I look a little bit different, my Wi-Fi is working now, and it's a new day, and that's because I'm Tronage from the future. How you doing? But I wanted to hop in here because I'm editing this video, putting this together, and something just wasn't sitting right with me. So I went back and I checked some things, and I wanted to share that with you while we do the cost analysis so you can let that marinate in your head. First, let's look at the Team Black Sheep invoice that I received for the drone drop package. And if you notice, it shows a cost of $20 and its shipping is free. That's fine and dandy. And then let's look at the drone drop invoice that, every month you get the drone drop invoice and, you see it's got the normal $40 cost of the box plus the $10 shipping. Why am I bringing this up? Well, because here's what I think happened. Normally, Drone Drop had to get the stuff shipped to them from wherever it comes from, usually overseas in China, curate the box, put it all together, box it all up, and then take care of the shipping. Rather than sending the individual parts, assembling the boxes, then sending out the boxes, they may have said, well, logistically, it makes more sense to have Team Black Sheep assemble the boxes because the products are already there. They can easily obtain them, put them in the box it up, and then ship them. But the part that kind of makes me a little is that basically Drone Drop is drop shipping at this point. They're purchasing something from a vendor. The vendor is shipping it to me, and they're just acting like the person who's collecting the money in the middle, which is fine, again. But seeing the $20 purchase price that it cost Drone Drop to place the order for, because basically Drone Drop paid 20 bucks for that order, but then charged me 40 bucks for that order. Spoiler alert, this box is not that good. It's actually kind of almost as bad as the last box. So I feel like Drone Drop is sacrificing us receiving the value versus maybe not trying to be so money hungry on that margin, because a 50% markup margin is that's like decent. That's like full on retail, not, online subscriber, shipping boxes one time a month type thing. Usually you work on a much slimmer margin than 50% of your money. And full disclaimer, I'm not privy to any kind of information. I'm just, you know, this is my gut feeling, my gut instinct, my own opinion, if you will. So take it with a grain of salt. But I want you to know, at least that's what it looks like. That Drone Drop paid 20 bucks for these boxes and shipped them to us and charged us $40 for them, plus shipping. They didn't pay shipping for the 20. So really they pocketed, you know, again, they paid 20 for the box and didn't pay shipping, charged us 40 for the box and charged us $10 shipping. And since Team Black Sheep is the one who did the shipping, then really Drone Drop kept that $10 too. So they really kept $30 from the $50 total for themselves. At least that's how it looks. So let that marinate in your head. And I could be completely wrong. And if you have inside information or you know what's going on, comment down below. I'm more than happy to figure it out, but that's how it looks to me. So while that's marinating in, now let's do that cost analysis and see how really terrible this box actually is. Part of doing honest reviews is being honest. And that not only means pointing out when the products may not be so great, but also when I make mistakes. And I had a pretty glaring mistake. This box coming from China essentially got me confused. So when I saw this shipping that I didn't order something from the Team Black Sheep, usually they come from Drone Drop, and it just seemed really out of place. So I was like, what's going on here? So I checked my account, I looked into my account, I looked at my different orders, and I noticed that the prices changed. This happened on May 15th, 2018. Yes, 2018, over a year ago. And the price went up by $2. Where was that $2 for? In shipping. It went from an $8 cost to a $10 cost. However, in my database, in my spreadsheet, when I was doing these cost analysis, I wasn't really checking what I was paying. I assumed it just kept going and going at the same rate. So I kept copying and pasting previous sheets using that same data. However, that data was wrong. That means in 2018, I miscalculated by overshooting by $16 because I paid $2 additional per month in shipping costs. So that reduced the total for the year of 2018 by $16. Also, for year to date up until October, when I've caught this error, I was also miscalculating for the Drone Drop boxes, giving them extra $2 in shipping, which for the month of October, which is 10 months, that's $20 for the 2019 year to date. So that means a total of $36 overall that I was giving to Drone Drop that I actually shouldn't have because it was spent in shipping. With that being said, let's do a quick recap of the October box. Here is your cost analysis of the new and updated cost analysis. And you can see because the $2 are taking out additional to bring it to the $10 shipping price, it is even more horrid than it was last month when I originally reviewed the box. Now, that being said, let's now look at the November box there. Now you can see it's a little better, but not by much. So we'll go through this line by line and we'll talk about these different items. First up are the Azure Power Ajani props. They look pretty cool. They look like pretty much any other like ultra light bladed props where they have this little skinny blades and stuff, but they are by Azure Power, so they have kind of a more of a boomerang shape versus more of a classic just prop shape. So I'm pretty anxious to try these out, see how they work and stuff. They are a lower pitch, so they're designed to be spun faster. I mean, pretty much they're ultra light in all aspects. Instead of a 5.0, they're a 4.8 inch prop, so they're even smaller prop, thinner blades, and lighter pitch, which means these are designed to be really spun fast. In all honesty, I wouldn't be surprised if you could take a conventional 4S setup And as long as the electronics can handle like 5 or 6S, you might be able to get away with putting these on there and having them work properly, because you wouldn't really need to adjust your kV, because you're, instead of lowering your kV to compensate for the higher voltage, you're actually lowering the amount of work because it's a smaller, skinnier, less aggressive prop. So it might balance itself out. I mean, don't take my word for it. I'm just kind of going off the top of my head brainstorm, but I would think that you could probably just throw these on a quad and just give it a whirl and it'll probably work out. But again, make sure all of your don't just start throwing a 5S or 6S pack on your quad and hope it's gonna work. Your ESCs, your flight controller, everything needs to make sure that it's compatible with that amount of voltage. So be sure you do your due diligence. But that is a pretty nifty and interesting configuration for a prop. Next up, quad questions. Okay, next up, the solder sucker. So this is a very good tool. Like usually the tools are kind of like, what are you gonna do with that? This is actually very useful, because if you want to do any kind of a repair, you need to take a wire off. Yes, absolutely. You can just put your soldering iron in there, the solder gets liquidy, and just pull your wire out and you're done. But now you have a blob of old solder sitting there. And if you really want to have good builds, clean contacts, good solder joints, you really need to take that old solder out and put new solder in. Also, this applies to where you have through hole. If you're actually using through hole for a very robust connection where you're putting the wire through the hole and soldering it, if you melt that solder and pull the wire out, now that hole is blocked. You can't put a new wire through there unless you heat the solder and push the wire through blindly, pretty much, because you can't see where the hole is, and hope you get it and hope it works out. And it's kind of difficult to do, and I've tried it and it's not fun. With the solder sucker, solder pump, desolderer, whatever you want to call these things, you can remove that solder so you can open up that hole again, or you can take that blob of solder off of that pad, so when you go to apply a new connection, you can apply fresh solder. This is very important for having a good connection. It means you have new flux, you have new everything, and you always want to have good solder joints, because the last thing you want is a solder joint to break while you're in the middle of the air, have a crash, and now you're grounded because something popped off. You got to come home, take it all apart, and try to figure out what's going on. So this is definitely a good thing for doing repairs. I already have one, but this is actually, I don't know, it's a pretty decent one. It's a little bit chunkier. This little foam thing's kind of interesting, the little grip it has. Price wise, I found it on AliExpress for like $3, $2, something like that. I found it on Amazon for like $4 or $5, $6, something like that. Just averaged them all out and came up with that weird $5 and change. That's pretty much what I would say it's valued at, and you can get pretty much, I mean, there's nothing special about this one. It's not high end, it's just plastic, nothing special. But it's definitely a good tool that you probably will end up using at some point. Next up, we have the Ethics strap. It's definitely a cool strap. Personally, I prefer the Newbie Drone strap versus the Ethics one here, but it's definitely cool, especially if you're an Ethics fan. It has the signature green color. It's a well thought out strap, don't get me wrong. It's just I feel the Newbie Drone one has a few extra features that this one is maybe lacking. So the Newbie Drone is my lanyard of choice, and it's also, I believe, maybe the same price or a little bit cheaper. I'm not sure off the top of my head, but it's still a welcomed addition. Lastly, we got the Omnibus F4 version 5 flight controller. And in reality, there's really nothing special here. It's just an F4 flight controller. Omnibus is pretty much like as vanilla gets, as far as I know. I mean, if I'm wrong, please comment down below. Let me know if there's something special or wonderful about this flight controller that I'm missing. But pretty much to me, this is sort of like the most vanilla flight controllers can get. And it's just a flight controller, run of the mill. So when you put that all together, if this was a one-time purchase for you guys, again, I am sorry, but you have lost money. And that's unfortunate, especially since I am giving $1 credit to that Quad Questions battery strap that's somewhere back there. So it's even more of a downfall than that. And the reality is, you know, it really is not a good box. Even as a subscriber, we're only clearing about $8 and change. I mean, Drone Drop, if you're listening out there, let me give you some advice. You got 2 other boxes out there now. You're not king of the hill anymore. Both of them, Quad Box and FPV Crate, are giving phenomenal value. They're all giving at minimum $20. Usually it's upwards towards $25 and sometimes even more. And you're giving us a box for a subscriber at like $8 and change value. Come on. December, decision time. You got until December, Drone Drop. Step up your game. Make up for lost times. Let's see what you got. Better knock my socks off. But for the rest of you, now that I'm done talking to Drone Drop personally, but for the rest of you, I mean, it's still a decent box. It's not, at least as a subscriber cost, it's not, I'm not in the negatives, and it's, you know, it's under 10 bucks of value. I mean, overall, I'm not going to complain so much about the products in this box. This time, I'm only going to complain solely on the value, because the props are definitely interesting, and I'm curious to try them out. And that's what I love about these random props that you get, is that you'll get, like, I would never go and pick out a 48-38 prop, ever. So that gives me the opportunity to now try something that I never would have picked out on my own, and I may end up loving it and discovering something that, you know, I never would have picked out otherwise. So that is definitely cool. The solder sucker, awesome tool to put in my bag. I already have one for my solder station, but maybe out on the field I have a repair. It's a cool thing to have. The TX strap, I don't really need one, but it's something that I can like give away or give to a friend, or, you know, do something, you know, special with like that. And the flight controller, yeah, it's a vanilla flight controller, but it's still a flight controller, so I can still use it. It's not something that I'm not going to use, because you always need a flight controller. I mean, this is not going to be my go-to one, but let's say I have a crash, something breaks, and I'm like, oh, dang, I need a flight controller real quick. Boom, I can throw that one in. So the quality of these products here that are included, oh, and there's that Quad question strapped back there somewhere, but I don't need that, so we won't. So ultimately, the quality of the products I'm not going to complain about, because this is a decent selection of stuff, but I am going to complain about the value. The value is just not there. Like, it just felt like it needed either something a little bit more quality in here, so a little higher ticket item, or maybe just another, you know, $10 item or something. This way we'd be close to the $20 mark. It would make me feel a whole lot better about this box, but it's just not there. Hope that got you some good information. Got to see what's going on with these boxes. I'm glad I was ultimately able to correct myself so that, you know, all my calculations are now more accurate with the new shipping rate that changed last year. So that's a good thing. So ultimately, it's up to you to decide whether this is something that you'd be interested in or not. Does this have enough value that you would consider good enough, or do you feel like this is a little bit, you know, lackluster? Let me know in those comments down below. Let me know. Is this what you come to expect? Like, what's going on? How do you feel about this? If you opened this box and you paid what I paid, how happy would you be? Let me know. I want to hear from you guys, because, you know, Drone Drop just feels like they're slipping fast, slipping far, and I really just don't know what's going on. And, you know, maybe someone out there has a little bit of insight what's going on, or at least, you know, let's have a little vent session where we can talk about our frustrations, if you will, a little therapy action. So comment down below, let me know. So, as always, my name's Tronage, fly strong.